Hi there guys and girls, welcome back to Kitchen Table Modelling. This time we're going to cover something which I've been asked about before on a previous video, but tracks. Okay, so obviously tracks make up quite a large part of a vehicle and they're quite prominently on display. So let's just cover sort of the three most common types of track that we come across as modelers. So number one being the rubber band tracks. So single piece, stamp detail on a flexible material. You can literally bend these in half and they bounce back. Very nice. I've had a few issues with some of the older Tamiya kits, but I think that's just where they've been produced and on the shelf for a long time. They have a tendency to split and crack, but otherwise, apart from that, never had major issues. They can be a bit finicky to get together just because of the way they're designed. So it's like it's meant to be twin pin, goes into the holes. Sometimes it doesn't want to play nice, sometimes it does. Best way to put these together is with super glue or the Tamiya extra thin stuff. But I found if you put them together off the vehicle and then try to put them onto the vehicle, they either have a tendency to come apart at the seams or they will split somewhere else. But they do work and they're very simple, very straightforward. Next up is link and length tracks. These ones I do not particularly like, as they are a pain in the backside. So this is currently off a Panther I'm working on, or Panther variation. Link and length. So I'll cover this setup because this is the vehicle I'm currently working on. This is one side. I did this one off camera because I don't particularly like them and they're quite finicky and fiddly to get together. But really nice detail. You can get perfect track sag in it. And you can actually do what I've done, which is build it and have it so it's a sub-assembly. So you can take it off, have it off the vehicle to paint it. But quite nice, quite robust. Not much more to say about that one. But it comes like this. Literally link and length. And unfortunately on this kit, which is a Tacom kit, you have to put the horns on individually, which is just an absolute nightmare. And it can be really fiddly. But this is one we're going to actually put together. And the third type of track you get is that. So this is out of a Rifle Models Sherman. Absolutely love this track. It is fantastic because it literally functions like an actual track. But this is the most fiddly and hard one to put together because it literally comes, this is off Challenger 2, but it's another Rifle model. It literally comes like this. So you've got the interior of the track with the horns, the exterior pads, and the actual conjoining bars. And you literally have to sandwich each bar in between the interior of the horns, the pads, and the next link. Normally in the Rifle models you get a little frame which allows you to put them together quite nicely. Have I got it to hand? Yes, I do. Is it? Yes, it is. This is Challenge 2. Covered this one on channel 4. Still not got around to doing diorama yet. But they actually function and look like the real deal. And if you put it onto the ground, it actually will flex like the real deal, which is really nice. And they do look the piece. They absolutely look fantastic. Oh, I do actually have some of that. Aha. I didn't think I had any left. So this is that's the track off that Challenger 2. Spare bit I had. But this is as it comes together. So as you can see, you've got the bar on the end, interior pad, exterior pad, interior pad, and you literally have to sandwich the two together to be able to pin that bar so you gain the full movement between each link. But you can see with this one, bit of glue seeped into the bar, so it's not flexible there. So, onto the main topic of this video, which is the link and length. So like I said, comes as on a sprue like this. I don't actually have a rifle mod. Well, I do, because I've just shown you that one actually. I was about to say I don't have one, but I do, because I've just shown the Challenge 2 one. Completely forgot about that. So it comes literally like this. The horns, I've already glued the horns on because it is quite a tedious process. So I'm going to cut away now, de-sprue it completely with the horns. Well, do the vast majority on. I'll show you the last one that I do, which will probably be those ones, because it can be quite fiddly. And if you've not glued it properly, you can potentially lose horns. They will just ping off when you're trying to remove the spruce. So I'm going to cut away, do the vast majority of this, and then we will join back when I do the last of this, and after I've set up the road wheels. Because if you know German tanks, you know how complicated the road wheels are for some stupid reason. Germans over-engineering everything, but it works, so don't complain. So, like I said, I'll cut away, de-sprue this lot, leave those ones intact to show you, set up the road wheels, and then we'll show you how to make the sub-assembly like this, and then I'll reconvene filming once the rest of the vehicle's complete, and we're getting onto the painting, and I'll just do one track in real time so you can actually see how to layer up dirt, grime, and whatever. Alright, so back in a minute. Right now, so that's been left to dry for 5-10 minutes, and that's well on there. So now we get the rest of it together. So once again, a big healthy dollop of super glue on something that you don't mind breaking and losing half of in the pot. Toothpicks, because they're always useful. So you can have the problem here with the rear road wheels, the rearmost road wheels. So the idea is getting there with the super glue, apply that nicely to it, because these you can't see. Front one, I advise not to put any on there because the track elevates away from it. So a nice little dollop on each. Let's do the front ones as well, a tiny bit on those. Like so. Right. Once again, take the track off the tool, nice and gently. You can see this one's starting to come apart there at the back, but it's held together a tiny bit. So we're actually going to separate that for now, because it will make this a little bit easier. Get your front sprocket in, positioned accordingly when it wants to go in the hole. Come on, you horrible creature. Okay, cancel that, because that decides it wants to separate from the vehicle. So we're just going to quickly touch this up. Yes, I am applying copious amounts of glue to it this time around because I'm getting a bit annoyed. Get that seated back where it should be. Firmed in, there we go. Right, time to get this on. Oh, you absolute son of a... Be back in a sec. Okay, so after that little drama with the front sprocket, excuse me, we're just going to do the back one first. Line teeth up, push it in. And if you've done this correctly, which I just realised I have not, sausages. Don't know, because the glue wasn't 100% dry. And of course, you lose a tooth. Oh, this one's just going from bad to worse today. But this is the problem with link and length tracks. They are incredibly annoying and fiddly, in my opinion, and I don't like them. Right. Put that back where it should be. Can join the rear half and the front half. There we go. And get the front on. Oh, and everything's just going wrong now, isn't it? Which is typical. Try to film something and it doesn't want to play nice. Right. That's now where it should be. There. So, apply a dibby bit of glue. Do a bit of glue on that. That's now connected. Front's now connected. Just this top bit, which is decided it wants to go walkabouts. Right, that's back where it should be. Apply a liberal coat of bloody glue to this thing because it's now annoying the bejesus out of me. Right, and let's get that rear idler wheel on before it decides it wants to not play nice again. That's the wrong pot of glue. And typical, that rear wheel does not want to go on. There we go, now it goes on. Bit of brute force and ignorance. So we're just going to touch that in with a spot of glue on top and a spot of glue on the contact surfaces. Remove the wadding underneath, put it back on the track. Get the stand, or not, because everything's just going horrifically wrong now. I've tried to film this one because I know people don't particularly like these types and everything just goes wrong. So this is why I don't film these tracks normally. I normally do them off camera and leave to set for a day or two. Right then, so they're all primed up nicely now. So next step is to apply base coat to the road wheels. This is a Panther set. This is a set of a Jag Tiger. These are the two sets I'm going to be using for the painting. As you can probably see the difference straight away in the road wheels. The Panther, where the pointy stick, I can grab it. Panthers actually have a black, not black, a rubber ring around the outside of the road wheels themselves, whereas the King Tiger doesn't. It is just a pressed steel road wheel. So that's something I've seen a few times. We're looking at models and whatnot on the internet, going to shows, etc. People have been painting. A few people have painted these as steel. If you were to do that, you'd have to completely remove that little rim down to the lip for it to actually be showing as steel. I'm sorry, I don't have a Dremel, I don't have all the time in the world, and also no tank would have an entire set that badly damaged, unless it's completely worn out and had it. So we're going to base coat both of these in the same colour, which is Dunkelglaub, else 44 DIG, DGI, or MIG number 11. So this is one of my go-to colours for German vehicles, because all German vehicles 99% of the time have this as a base colour. Poor planning on my point. I can't find the other one. Where's my other one gone? That's grey, olive, red, substrab. Oh, I can't find the other one. Gem grey. Why can you never find something when you really want it? Medium grey, mud brown, German grey. Field glow, German grey is another go-to for any German armour. Where has that gone? As well as, there we go, got it. Finally found it. As well as Dunkelglaub, dark yellow from Vallejo, and German greeny brown, Gelblon, comes out as a nice brown colour. Or you can go to MIG and you can buy the camouflage set for the 44, which gives you Dunkelglaub, Stucco-Blonde, and these are green. When I can pronounce it that right, yeah. These are green. Those two are absolutely fine. This one I find to be a little bit too light, so I will normally substitute it in for US Verde or US Light Green, or even where's it gone? Nope, nope, I can't find it now. But it's an Imperial Japanese Army one, Army colour. I use it for my British vehicles as it is pretty much slap on to the right colour itself. Nope, I can't find it now. I had it out in preparation for this and now I can't find it. So I'm going to cut away. We'll do the base coat on the road wheels. Don't have to worry about being particularly neat and tidy as of yet. But we're going to cover the sprockets, the road wheels, the idlers on both sets. And then we'll cut back to normal video. Right then guys, so they are now painted up and I've just realised my mistake. I meant to do them the other way around. So that's the Dunkelglaub from Vallejo. And that's the Dunkelglaub from MIG. And they're both meant to be the same colour. But as you can see, there is quite a clear difference in the shade. So the Dunkelglaub from Vallejo is very dark and sandy colour, but the Dunkelgrau from MIG is very light and pale. I plan to do that one in the Dunkelgrau from MIG. That's actually about to go on to, that's going to go on to a model which you will see shortly. But while looking at the colours and variations in the lightness, I actually dug out a book, which I find is quite useful. So, actually, that's a perfect flip through. So you got this variation of a, I can't think what it is, SDKF 25-1, and you can see the Dunkelgrau is very light, more in tune with the MIG colours. See if I can find it. That's Africa 1. Where's Eastern Front one I saw earlier? Sorry, I did have this planned out before I hit record, but I lost the page because my son called me. He needed help with something. Where's it gone? As you can see while I'm flicking through this, to be honest, the colours vary colossally. Now, there we go. So you got 131 and 111. 131 is the one that sat in the Tank Museum. No, it's not, is it? 131. Hang on. Check my second book. Pretty sure it's 131. This is going to bug me now, because I want to get this right. I'm pretty sure it's 131. Soviet advance. No. Yeah, it is 131. So, and 131 was captured in Africa. So, another prime example, actually, of the variations in colours. Is this picture. I don't know how well this will work. Oh, it does work. Works very well. So, as you can see, that is quite a dark yellow. Very dark yellow. Which is more in tune with the Vallejo colour. And same again, depicted for Michael Wittmann's Last Tiger, 111. It is a very darky yellow. Let's just zoom that back out. So the colours vary hugely. And the best thing I can say is go with what you're comfortable with. Don't just go, oh yeah, prime example is what I've got here in my hands. So this one, the scheme for this, it says, oh yeah, use Dunkelgrau mid-war, 110. I've got 111. I've got a number 11. So on, so forth. Look at what is available. Look at as much reference material as you can. And then find one which is suiting to what you feel is right. Unless you physically go and paint match 131 from the Tank Museum, or the Panther they've got in there, or the King Tiger, or the Panzer IV, or any museum. Unless you physically go and paint match it to a vehicle, because you want to be that perfect and you're modelling that exact vehicle in its current state, then just go with what you're comfortable for. So it's like, for example, that for me, I feel is too dark for what I'm going to use it for. And that is more of a in tune colour with what I'm going to use it for. So I'm going to jump off camera in a second. I'm going to strip these down and repaint them the other way around. So that'll be the light colour, that'll be the dark colour. And then we'll get on to the actual track itself. Right then, now I've fixed my own little mistake. That one's in the mid colours, that one's in the Vallejo colours. So, the way I approach tracks is one of two ways, depending on what I want the track to look at. So the first way is I normally mix a bunch. Burnt iron, gunmetal, steel, and rust. Normally mix those together sort of 30-30-20, 30-30-10. The other option I go for is lead belcher from Citadel. Douse down with null, that one, can't speak, and weathered over with Agrax Surfshade. And then to do highlighting of bits which come into contact with the ground, etc. Either go with dry brushing with Necron compound or the steel. So we're going to jump time lapse now. I'm going to do this one first, mix up a batch for this, and then paint that one, and we'll be back afterwards. Right then, now that's all dried and I've got all down the insides, we're on to the next step. So this one is going to be a very straightforward dry brush, but this one is going to be slightly more complex. Where's my bit of angle? This one is going to be slightly more complex for the fact it's been sat for a while, so rust would have got into all the nooks and crannies and any damaged surface metal. So there's many ways you can replicate rust. You can go with things like rust washes, actual paint, dry brushing effects. The list goes on and on. You can even go for like shaders. That's a grime shader, not a rust shader. I do have a rust shader somewhere. I can't find it at the moment. You can go down the route of pigments and things like that, or you can go down this route. So, pretty sure many of you are aware of the new, well, relatively new now, product brought out by MIG. In relation to their rust set, I've not tried that one. Apparently it is absolutely fantastic. You can get a variety of effects, but it's so expensive. This little set cost me £20. £20, and the results I've had from it have been absolutely spectacular. If you haven't seen the CVRT video on my channel, I suggest you go find it and have a look at the exhaust on there, as I used that for the exhaust. I'm not going to use it on this, as it will semi-eliminate, due to its consistency and how it works, it will eliminate quite a lot of the track detail. But for actual panels and whatnot, it is fantastic. It comes as 3 parts, your glue. Your actual metallic substance. I'm assuming, because that is actually metal filings and a acid-based developer, which causes it to flash rust. And you get quite a nice textured surface. It's not particularly bright in colour. It's quite a nice dull colour. But I go over and I enhance it with this. So once again, pick this up from my local model shop. I'm going to be taking a trip up there next week, hopefully. And I'll actually film my trip in there, so you guys can have a good look around and get a good feel of what I see when I go in there. But this kit isn't complete. It's actually a miss kit. I didn't know this until after I purchased it, which is absolutely fine, because I've got other substances which cover the missing light eroding rust, which is light wash from MIG. But as you can see, you get several variations: deep rust, dark eroding, light rust, meant to have light rust, orange marks, yellow marks, and a remover. And it literally comes in bottles like so. Deep rust, dark eroding, orange marks. I've got 2 of those. Yellow and the remover. So for this track in particular, it's a toss-up between the deep and the dark. The orange marks I'm not particularly worried about at this moment in time. That will become clear in a later step. So give these a quick shake. So deep rust is a very dark red affair. That's just dribbled all over my finger. Quickly wipe that off. And the eroding rust is a more lighter affair. So these are both acrylic based. Just actually checking that. Yes, they are both acrylic based substances, so you can dilute them down with water. So we're going to start with it's 50-50. You can go either way you want. I'm going to go for the deep rust first, and that is leaking. Why is that leaking? Okay, that shouldn't be leaking anymore. Give that a quick wipe. Clean that up. I'm going to go for the deep rust first, and then the dark eroding rust. But I'm not going to use them uniformly all over. I'm going to do the front half in the eroding dark, and do from there to there with deep eroding rust, and from there to there with the deep rust. So number 7 to the right, number 6 to the left. I'll do that in a time lapse, as it can get pretty boring. And then before I come back to live feed, we will dry brush this with the Citadel extremely orange paint, which is nice because it does mimic exactly the same effect from the Vallejo Air range. Oh, there we go. There's the shader I was looking for. I'll do that in a time-lapse feed, same as the dry brushing on this one, and then we'll cut back to live once it's all dry and talk how we can escalate the process further, if that's what you want to do. If not, if you're happy with the results, brilliant. But we'll cut back in a minute. Right then, so that's the pigment placed on the decayed track. As you can tell, unless you're looking at it directly in the light or on a lighter colour than the actual track material itself, you can't tell which one is which. There may be a very slight difference, but I can't actually tell which one is which. So it just shows two pigments can have the same effect. So now that's quite dark and grungy and horrible, like it's been left alone outside for a few years, etc. We're going to move ahead, and a lot of people, sorry, cancel that. A lot of people will just leave it as this because it looks quite nice, it looks quite aesthetically pleasing. There's enough depth in there to say, yep, okay, that's corroded and horrible. So I'm going to move on to another step. Like I said, a lot of people would just leave it like this. There's nothing wrong with that. Same as this panther one. A lot of people will just leave them like this. But like I said, we're going to move on to another step, which is dry brushing. You can dry brush it essentially with any colour. Doesn't make a difference whether it's purposely designed dry brushing paints or whether it's just normal airbrush paint. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to first of all, I'm going to use actual dry brush paint and normal paint on this track. Both pretty much the same colours. One is slightly duller than the other. And there's a reason behind this. And then this track, we're just going to dry brush over in the Necron Dry compound. But before I do, we're going to talk about brushes. So, these two brushes, both are, when the camera decides it wants to focus, these are both dry brushes. Same as this one. But the difference is, one of these cost me the best part of 10 quid, and the other cost me less than 5 quid. I'll just pause for a few seconds, let you guys have a think which one's which. And the key to this is the manufacturer. So, this is a Warhammer dry brush, and this is an Army Painter dry brush. As this is also a Warhammer dry brush. It's a bigger dry brush. And so this one cost me, I think it was almost £17 off the top of my head. It's natural hair fibre, quite hard, really hard wearing. Fantastic brush, really good use. But £17 for a brush. Bit extortionate, but it is worth it if you look after them and whatnot. So with that in mind, which one's more expensive one, which one's cheaper? This is the expensive one. This is the cheap one. Same again, it comes down to the tip material. So this is a synthetic and this is a natural hairbrush. I use Army Painters quite a lot because they go right the way down to that size. As you can tell, this brush has been well used and it's quite old. I do keep a couple of spares, but I like the Army Painter ones as well because of the shape of the shaft rather than a circle shaft. I don't do very well with circle ones due to injuries I've sustained to my hands in the past. So we are going to use both of these brushes to dry brush this track. First up, we're going to split it 50-50 again. Synthetic on the rear, natural on the front. So, first off, one of my words get out. We're going to dry brush with normal paint. So, add a blob to your palette. Yeah, we'll go with this one first. I'll go natural because it's just easier for me to grab. You want to load the brush up quite nicely. So that brush is absolutely soaked. Next, you want to remove a lot of paint off it. The best way to do it, I have newspaper down or just material down and literally scuff it across. If you've got a little lip on your bench or on wherever you're doing this, let's bring the camera down slightly. So this is the edge of my cutting mat. So I'll sit there with the brush and go like that over it. As you can see, that's dumped out all the paint, pretty much. But you want just enough to be able to go over it. Just to highlight that strip. And then it's literally a case of, let me just camera back. There we go. Literally, you just want to run across the upper details. Not applying too much pressure, just keeping the brush roughing over the top. Now, admittedly, even I can't even see what that is doing to that in particular, so we'll abandon that one, as it is merely the shade. It's merely the actual colour of the paint rather than the paint itself or the technique. So we'll move on to the Citadel dry brush paint. So as you can see straight away, that is an incredibly thick consistency and it's very jelly-like. So normally pick it up, work it into the brush quite nicely, remove the excess, and once again just dab it off, and then come back to your piece. Now admittedly you can't really see what's going on with this, and I will be the first to admit that because even I can't see. Nope, even I can't actually see. Wow, that's a first, even for me. So this is a grade A example of when enough is enough. And as you can see already, that is quite enough on that track already. It doesn't need more putting on, really. Just some people like to. And I can understand that people want to push the envelope as far as possible. So we'll leave this one alone for the time being, I think. And we'll move on to this one, because we'll be able to see the dry brushing effect very nicely. Another Citadel paint. Once you can see it's very jellified. We'll just go straight in with a synthetic brush for this one, if I have the right end of the brush. Normally I wouldn't use such a small brush for this, but you can see that is very jellified. Right, here we go. You want it so you're picking up any raised detail. So there's no pressure being applied. I am literally just running the tip of the brush across the workpiece very nicely, very gently. And this is why I don't use circular brushes, because I can't grip very well. And just topping up the brush. So normally I'll end up with a dollop on the material I'm using as a cover. And I'll just keep going back to that. But as you can see straight away, it is highlighting the raised edges really nicely and making them stand out and pop away from the rest of the workpiece. So this would be the case of this vehicle is driven over a harder area, so like concrete, after being out in the field, and any piece of the metal which are moving rather than being relatively static. Flip this one over. Where'd I go to? Yeah. There. So for example, this is driven over concrete. The raised lips of the tracks themselves come into contact with the hard ground. Any crap which has been lodged on there, rusting elements, etc., has been removed. Okay, not going to use that one because that's wet still. But where these are acrylic, you literally just need to rinse the brush in water. I'm going to use the bigger brush, not the army paint one, as that's got the orange on it. But I'm going to use the bigger synthetic brush from Citadel for this. You can see it does pick up a lot of material, a lot of paint very quickly. And the joys of natural fibre as well, they are a lot softer. And as you can see, this one goes on very nicely, very quickly. So you're still leaving behind a lot of that gunk and grime that is in the ridges and whatnot, because the brushes are, the actual tips of the brush is bending as it's coming into contact with it. So anything that's solid is being painted. Anything that's in a depression is not being painted due to the brush bending around it and not leaving any pigment or material behind. This is why this is my go-to brush, even though I can't, like I've said before, I struggle with round brushes. I have a tendency to drop them quite a lot. This brush is an exception because it is big enough for me. This brush is big enough for me to be able to apply firm pressure quite high up, rather than trying to grip it down here, because I can't put a lot of pressure through these two fingers. So quite a lot you will see me holding brushes strangely, and that's why I prefer time-lapse than real-time videos. Enjoy about dry brushing. Once it's on there, it's relatively safe to handle. Okay. As you probably noticed, I'm not really paid too much attention to the road wheels at this point, and you can see they're starting to get a little bit mocked up with some grime and paints and whatnot. But there we have it. So that's the dry brushing quickly. As you can see, very quickly it turns something that's quite dull and boring into something that's actually quite nice. So let's just pop this on a zoom. So we come around here to the front, so you can see I don't have a pointy stick. That's annoying. That'll do. So as you can see, in the gaps and crevices, the track wash has remained. But anything that's slightly raised up, and the dry brushing has adhered to nicely. Same as in the gaps here behind the actual track link themselves. The dry brush hasn't touched or adhered to. Right, so I need that one again. Let's pop that back out. So onto the inky dinky brush again. This is synthetic one, as this has this pigment on it already. So I need, where's that gone? My son's been at my desk, I apologise. There we go. Put this in the block. So now we're going to start tackling some of the finer elements on this track. So once again, working the tip of the brush, working the pigment into it. So now we're going to try and target all these exposed horns on the track itself and the actual edge of the teeth. It's a bit hard with the light, so I do apologise, it's a bit crap. Once again, same element, in with a dry brush, just next to no pressure, just literally scuffing across the surface. So anything that will come into contact with metal while it's moving will generally be quite a polished appearance due to the frictions and whatnot applied. So it's quite an easy and quick process, dry brushing, which is what I enjoy quite a lot. And I will do this. You don't have to just use dry brushing for like this, for example. You can use it for pretty much anything. So I will actually use dry brushing quite a lot for pre-shading on vehicles and post-shading on vehicles. Actually, it would be the kit for this. You'll see me use dry brush, a Vallejo white or a MIG white to dry brush to bring out raised details on the black primer, on the black primed background. I'm just running over the sprocket quickly with this, just bringing out any highlight. Because the joys of dry brushing this colour, it doesn't leave too much of an impact, so you can accidentally overdo something and you won't notice it. It isn't the end of the world. And same again, anywhere where wheels have been running, want to get in there as well and just touch that up so it's nice and relatively shiny. You can spend days on tracks if you go completely overboard. Right, last little bit. That's in around the sprocket, idler, not sprocket. Just in around there and up over the back. So things like the sprocket, I'm not worried about actually, or the idler, I'm not worried about accidentally getting it on the idler and whatnot, as they will be pretty well polished. Best way of putting it. There we go. So there we go. That's a very quick dry brush on that one. Dry brushing is very good because you don't have to put a lot of time. You don't have to pour a lot of time into it for it to look nice. Just a quick 10-15 minutes with a dry brush and you actually get some quite nice results out of it. So the next step for this would be, I need something to point with because this is going to do my head in. I do. So the next step for this is would generically be to touch up the wheels and clean up anywhere where paint or weathering material has gone on, and it shouldn't have. And same again, fill in the rubber for the road wheels on here, and it would be the steel on the exterior of these road wheels themselves. But that pretty much covers how to get the tracks looking as they should be. There is one more thing I will do, and I will show you, because I found it as a very useful tool, as silly and simple as it sounds. And this is the joy as well of dry brushing. And the entire time I've been talking, that's actually already dried. I know this because I've got some on my hand, and the material on the desk is dry. So the most silly and incomprehensible thing as a tool for this, pencil. I'm not worried about making a mess on here. Let's just clean that bit up. We've got a good workable surface. And that is literally take a HB pencil, any graphite sort of pencil, and literally run it over. It has the same effect as dry brushing. It helps enhance the features of the model itself. This won't really make much of a difference as this one's already been dry brushed, but this one hasn't, so you should be able to see it a lot clearer on here. Yes, you will actually, because it's got the raised nibs of good old Tiger Track. So rub it across the exposed links, exposed edges. Yes, you do have to apply a little bit of pressure with this one, but I don't know how well you can see that. Those actual raised nibs themselves are starting to pop through as shiny, which on this track makes no ounce of difference, as it is a junk track. But on a vehicle that's in service or in use, don't know how well that comes across on camera, but it just starts to make those tiny little details which often get missed because they're blended in with pigments and paints and all sorts. It just helps to start bring those out slightly. And it's like, for example, on the road wheels themselves, you could get in there and just touch around the edges. I don't know, like I said, I don't know how well this comes across on the camera. I can't actually see the camera while I'm doing this. Where's the sprocket? There's the sprocket. So it's around the edges of the actual teeth themselves. I don't think that's coming across very well. I'm trying to look at the camera and do this at the same time. But you can see where the graphite has rubbed off onto the actual model itself. It does start to give it a little shine at the same time and help to kind of show that it's a in use or in constant contact with other metals. You can just about see that on there. The camera's not exactly very good. But yeah, that is about it for tracks. This one, like I said, this is actually going on to the current model I'm doing, so that's why I'm going to stop there, because otherwise I'm going to start either going to mess up the scheme I have planned for it, or I'm going to push it too far and I'm going to have to try and blend the rest of the vehicle to match it. So I hope this was useful to anyone. If you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment in the comment section of anything else you'd like me to cover in this basis, and leave us a subscribe if you enjoyed this. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.